Teachers have a huge impact on our beliefs. I've had great teachers and coaches in my life that I am incredibly grateful for. I've unfortunately also had a few teachers that really impacted me negatively. In 5th grade, I had a teacher that destroyed my love for writing. Up to then, I truly loved writing and I was always making up stories and creating books. I had an incredible imagination and loved to linger there. This teacher read something that I wrote and laughed at it in front of the entire class and said, "I sure hope you don't want to be a writer because you are terrible." I remember this teacher's first, middle, and last name. I know what he drove and could describe him still to this day. This is how strong of an impact it had on me. At this time in my life, I assumed teachers knew everything, so I believed him without a second thought. I was really sad about what he said, but I completely believed it was true. I didn't question him or ask anyone about this. I just moved forward believing I couldn't write. So what happens when you believe something and totally buy into it? You create a neuron with that belief, and then your subconscious brain records it. Our subconscious mind doesn't mull it over to make sure it's true. That's the conscious brain's job. And since my conscious brain already decided it was true, it got stored as true. So moving forward, I had that program installed. When you create a new truth, your subconscious brain will move forward finding more evidence that this is true. I do go into greater detail about this in my episode on how do you stop self-sabotage, if you want to check that out. So from this one experience, I created a huge mental block around reading and writing, which made me question my intelligence. I started to stress myself out when I read out loud. Then another teacher in high school laughed at me while I was reading a paragraph to the entire class. I was so embarrassed, and that was it for me. I now solidly believed I couldn't write or read properly, and I hated being in front of people because I felt stupid. I was so young and didn't have the internet or any type of tools to teach me otherwise, so I accepted that there was something wrong with my brain, and I would always struggle moving forward. And as expected, I did struggle. It wasn't until I was in my 30s and I started a business and had to create a website and treatment menus that I started to notice how much I love the creativity of writing. I had a client compliment me on something I wrote. She said, "I can tell you have a passion for writing." I laughed and said, "I hate writing and I'm a horrible writer." She then asked me a really important question. She asked, "Who told you that and why did you believe them?" That teacher flashed into my memory and I told her about it. She simply said, "Well, he was wrong. He was wrong." What? That never occurred to me. Ever. What a shame that I formed a debilitating belief that stuck with me and created years of unnecessary struggle because I thought something was wrong with me intellectually. So many of us have formed beliefs that shaped our life from teachers, especially my generation and the ones before me. We were taught to never question adults, especially teachers. I think the generations after me are a little more savvy to the truth that teachers are human beings with human flaws. They have good days and they have bad days, but more importantly, they are not always right. So if you are harboring any belief about something that was said to you, start questioning it now. Your brain is no different in terms of capacity for greatness than anyone else that has achieved greatness. The difference between you and someone you admire for their intellectual abilities is usually belief. They either never believed anything negative about their intelligence, or if they did, they were too stubborn to accept it and kicked ass to prove otherwise. The influence teachers have on our lives can be profound. Even the most dedicated and well-meaning teacher can hold stereotypes and beliefs that affect their students. In the 1960s, Harvard professor Robert Rosenthal performed a fascinating experiment to gauge how teachers' expectations affect student performance. He told elementary school teachers that a test could determine which students' IQs were about to increase rapidly. He then randomly selected students that he labeled with this potential growth. As a marker, he tested the students' real IQs at the beginning of the year as well as at the end. What were the results? If teachers had been led to expect greater gains in IQ, then increasingly those kids actually gained a higher IQ. The teachers were specifically asked not to treat those with the potential for higher IQ any different than the other students. So for the most part, the teachers unconsciously helped them along. This study is the basis for most of the following research on stereotypes in the classroom. The principle is the same, whether it's gender, race, or student preference. Any factor that causes a teacher to have higher expectations for some of the students and lower expectations for others is bound to create results to match. Again, teachers are human beings. My mom is a retired teacher, and I have so many more positive experiences with great teachers and coaches than I do with negative ones. What is interesting about our minds is that most of us have had way more positive experiences than negative ones, but the negative ones truly impact us. Sometimes because there is usually emotional distress, embarrassment, or frustration attached to these memories. So, what have you learned from teachers? Are there any beliefs you may have bought into or created from what a teacher or coach has said to you? Or maybe they just treated you differently and you decided it was because you were less smart, not worthy, or you had learning disabilities that couldn't be overcome. These could have created mental blocks on learning and made you question your intellect. Now is the time to question any beliefs you may have bought into. I had completely forgotten why I hated writing. When my client asked me who told me that, I was shocked that I remembered so quickly with an insane amount of detail. When I work with my clients, sometimes they remember right away, but sometimes they can't recall any specifics. They are aware how hard school was and how they felt, but they can't recall why. There are a few things you can do to change these deep-seated beliefs. Meridian tapping is great for this. Very simple and direct. I am creating some how-to videos on my YouTube channel, along with some videos you can tap along with for various beliefs. Sometimes just becoming aware of these beliefs help you to question them and invalidate these thoughts as they arise. There is a powerful meditation that you can do at any time as well. This Inner Child audio is on my website and YouTube channel for you to listen to for free. My website is mindfullybeinghuman.com, and for YouTube, type in Mindfully Being Human. Thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate your time. Until next time, remember to embrace who you are and be compassionate and kind to those around you, but mostly be compassionate and kind towards yourself.